Welcome to the eForm Spacings webinar. In this webinar, we will go over how to space the fields in an eForm to work well for a tablet and a phone. Setting fields for eForms can be tricky because tablet and phone resolutions can vary, and a style that you like that works on a tablet may not work on a phone. Before we create a new eForm, we need to look at a couple settings. Let's go to Setup, and here we have a couple default values. Default space below and right of each field tell us how much space is going to be used between the fields that we add. This is important because it'll help determine the visual appearance of the eForm to your patients. We see that the default spacing is 20 between one row and another, and 10 between fields in the same row. So let's go ahead and leave the default spacing below and change the default spacing to the right to 20. Now this will give us a more uniform look. So let's go ahead and save this and create a blank eForm. Now in the Edit Properties, we want to make sure that the max width of the eForm will be wide enough for the fields we want and look good on a tablet. We want to make sure that the value is big enough to look nice on a tablet in landscape mode, so we are going to change the value to 600. Now you can see that the maximum width shown has increased. We can move the side to test how the form will look on a smaller device. Now that we have the basic info set for the eForm, we can start looking at the fields and how they fill the space. So let's go ahead and create a new text box. We will give this label first name, and we'll give it its database link. The width value will give you a static width that will not change. For example, if I set it to 300, it will be 300 if the maximum width of the device is 600 or 300. If we go ahead and save this, we can see it takes up half of the space, more of the space, 100% of the space, continuing on. So as the device size changes, the proportion to the screen it takes up will look uneven. If you want to make it even, you will want to use the checkbox Width is Percentage. Let's go back in and turn that on. Now when we turn this on, you can see that the width is now changed to width percent. And you cannot use a static width and a percentage width in the same row. So it's either width with the percent or just the width as a static, one or the other. So we'll go ahead and leave that on for now and hit save. With using width percent, you can tell the field to use the whole width of the eForm, a percentage of the width, or a ratio of the width if you are using more than one field in the same row. If we want to use a percentage of the entire field, we just need to put what percent. Let's go ahead in here and make this 50%. And we see it takes up half of the space, whether it's at 600 or all the way down to the smallest device possible. Now this will be the case for whatever percentage that we use. We can also see how this looks with the second field. We're going to create another text box for the last name and give it the same properties as the first. We'll go ahead and create this. We'll turn on width is percent, 50%, and we'll hit save. Let's put this below here, and we can actually go in now and turn on horizontal stacking. This will allow us to put it next to the previous field. And you see that each field takes up 50%. Doesn't matter if it's a small phone or a large tablet, the field ratio is going to stay the same. Now you can do this with as many fields as you want, but keep in mind that the more fields that you add, the more cluttered the form becomes. We typically don't recommend having more than 2 to 3 fields per row. So let's say we want to have 3 equally sized fields in a row. We don't need to approximate the percentage number. We can actually express the percentage as a ratio to the available width. So to have 3 equal sized fields, we will tell each field that we want to make the width 100%. This will make the 3 fields to divide the total width evenly. Let's go ahead and add another text box. We'll add in the preferred name. And we're going to make this one 100% as well, and hit save. And let's go ahead and stack them next to each other. Now you see they each take up 1/3 of the available width, whether it's for a tablet or a phone. Now this will also work if we want to have the ratios to be unequal. So let's say we want to make the preferred name the middle initial. Let's double click in Now we're going to change the width percent to 50%. So this will be half of the width of the first name or the last name field. And we see that ratio still continues no matter if it's a tablet or phone. Now, if it's easier to understand, we can also do this in terms of middle initial being 100%, and we just want to make the other fields twice as big, in which case that would be 200% and 200%. You'll see that's going to be the same ratio as the 100, 50, 100 that we had previously. Now that we have the basics down, let's take a look at adding a minimum width. Minimum width is the minimum static width that a field will reduce to. Let's go ahead and remove this middle initial. So in our two field example, we see that we can reduce it to the smallest font size possible, and both fields will stay the same percentage. But what if we don't want the fields to shrink, but we want them to move to the next row? Now to do this, we'll need to use a minimum width. Once the width of the device is below our minimum width, the field will move to the next row. So let's add a minimum width of 250 to both. See minimum width here, make this 250, and do the same over here. So what that means is once the width of the device gets to be below a certain threshold, in this case 250, it will no longer shrink the field, but the field will move below the other field. And you see as we reduce the size, there it goes. Now remember that our total width is 600. So one field is 250, another field is 250, that's 500. Then we've got some spacing in the middle and on the sides, which altogether gives us our 600 width. So it doesn't take much to trigger that 250 to get them to stack. Now, unfortunately, because there are so many different types of devices with different screen sizes and resolutions, it's impossible to set a minimum width that will work perfectly 100% of the time. It is better to err on the side of caution, though, and make the minimum width higher than lower. It's easier for a patient to see a form that is wrapped to a single column than to struggle with fields that haven't wrapped yet. That covers how to set up spacings for fields in eForms. Thanks for watching.
Thanks for joining us today. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to our support team at 503-363-5432 or click the question mark in any open dental window to access our help feature. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss out on our latest training videos. See you next time!